Hey there, everybody. It's great to be with you once again. And as promised for this evening update, I am bringing to you the famous Maritza, mi esposa, desde 2007. And what our hopes were for tonight, it's kind of corny. Hopefully you guys can see us. We're having some audio difficulties. But what we're hoping to do tonight is just share a little bit of the story with you. I think I brought you up to 2007. We were in Burma. We had just spent some time with some orphans there, and that's where we got God's heart for adoption. And we left that place with tears in our eyes, saying to each other in the back of the pickup truck we were riding in, like, we have got to adopt someday, right?
Yeah, so I think both of us had previous exposure to working with orphans, but I think, yeah, I even lived in an orphanage hosting missionary teams in Monterrey, Mexico for a season. And we both had exposure to working with orphans before, but I think in that trip is when we kind of came to that place of asking ourselves whether that was something for us.
Yeah.
Like
and
how we could
we were
be
newly
involved.
married too.
Yeah, we were just married. I think we'd only been married a few weeks.
Yeah, barely scratching 2 months at that time. Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm really bad with timelines, but we were just married and we were leading an outreach around the world, and that was one of our locations. And we went to this place where this family who really loves Jesus was doing their part to provide a home for people's kids who couldn't take them, or for just orphans. And it was during the time that the government was really crazy, so there were like spies outside.
In Myanmar, not in the U.S.
In Myanmar, yes. Sorry. That's where we were. And there were spies outside, and I remember we did like a little program for them with like puppets or dramas or something. And then at the very end there, we were in a barn, and like all the chickens are running around, and we're trying to hide from the spies. And at the very end, the orphans started leading worship, and I don't think I've ever experienced worship like that before, and it was just such a beautiful time of just feeling the presence of God. And I think we both left that orphanage just kind of, like we didn't want to leave, and we were just talking about, what our part would be in that, like if we were supposed to work with orphans, if we were supposed to adopt. There were a couple little kids there that we wanted to bring home, but we just couldn't.
Yeah.
So anyway, so we started the conversation then, but
and one of the things that was astonishing was seeing how these kids who did not know Jesus would come to this orphanage, be under the care of this couple, and fall in love with Jesus. It was amazing to us. Like, wow, like these kids' lives are not just being fed and clothed and housed, but their eternities are being impacted by the love of this couple that we were with. That was another thing that struck us, is like how sincere the orphans' love was. Like Maritza was saying during the worship time, just going for it with all their might, worshiping Jesus.
And you had like 2-year-olds just singing their little hearts out.
It was so cute.
I have never experienced such a sincere time of worship. It's really amazing. So yeah, we came home, and between us, we just kind of said, okay, let's just be praying and asking God how He wants us to love on orphans, or like what our part is. Is this a burden, or is this a calling? Like, is this for our family? And so we prayed, and we just kind of didn't hear much after that. So we kind of tabled it. I think that's what people say, when you kind of return to it from time to time and just listen and hear what God's saying, and see if there's any open doors. And and stuff. And so that went on till about we had our twins. We actually found out we were pregnant. We were leading an outreach right after. I don't know if you guys remember, if you've known us, there was the place where we worked, there was a shooting there, and then we were leading the school, and then right after that we took them on outreach to Argentina because they decided to stay after. And we found out we were pregnant with twins,
Seth and Samuel,
and during that trip. So that was
2007.
Yeah, so that was actually that same year.
Or no, that would have been 2008.
Yeah, so it was a year later. Sorry, life can go really
We actually
fast.
have a timeline. Check this out. We'll come back to it in a second. Boom. Handwritten adoption journey timeline. You see there, 2004, we met. 2007, we started dating. 2006, we started dating. 2007, we got married, and then we went on that outreach. That's where we got our heart for adoption. Then the boys were born in 2008, and then Tirsa was born in 2010.
Yes, so we had 3 biological kids, and they're amazing, and I think you guys have met them if you didn't know us previously. Seth, Samuel, and Tirsa in these videos that Mark has been making. They're a lot cuter than I am, so I apologize. But anyway, so we had 3 kids, and then right around the time that Tirsa, our daughter, who's the youngest, was in preschool, so that was what
this
year was
would have been 2013. You're talking about the map?
Yeah, so have you guys talked about that?
She shared about it last night, yeah.
Yeah, so she came home and she gave me this letter, and she's like, it's a map to my sister. And we hadn't really talked to her kids about adoption or really not even about orphans that much. And it's really interesting to us because around that time, the boys also started really getting a heart. Every time we would do our family devotionals, they would bring something up about orphans. Like Samuel one time said, like, Dad, I think we need to build bunk beds for kids who, he didn't use the word orphans because they didn't know what that was, I don't think. I think they were, if Tirsa was in preschool, the boys would have been in kindergarten.
Like, yeah, 5 or 6, probably about 6.
So Samuel said, let's build bunk beds for little kids who don't have moms and dads. And so, yeah, we just kind of started noticing that God was stirring their hearts for adoption and for orphans. And so we kind of brought it up again, and to the Lord in prayer, and we said, Lord, is there something you're trying to say?
And it wasn't till, let's see here, 2015. I apologize that this is so small on your screen, but it just shows you all the different steps that we've been through. 2015, Maritza and I really felt like that prompting from the Lord, like to have faith for adoption, and we started engaging our kids in that, and basically proceeding on to really just investigate what it would look like. And we felt like the Lord said yes. We landed on Colombia, which is where Maritza is from, and that gives us certain privileges, and so that's good. But yeah, that started in 2015.
Yeah, we had initially started pursuing Burma as a country for adoption, but at the time they were still a closed nation, and they weren't allowing any international adoptions. And so we tried, I think we even tried within refugee groups outside of Burma, like Burmese refugee groups. And then finally we said, Lord, is there somewhere else we need to look? Because, our heart was more to give home to a child, not necessarily a specific country. And there's need everywhere. And we were just kind of open to anywhere. And then, so we had a family time of prayer, and I didn't really hear anything from Jesus. I didn't have any impressions or anything like that. And everybody else got Colombia, and Tirsa got Pluto. So
we're still
kids,
wondering where that's going to come into play.
The kids think that's funny, but now that they're older and they understand no one lives in Pluto, so we cannot adopt from Pluto. So,
That's right.
But yeah, so that's kind of how we decided to pursue Colombia. We looked into a lot of different adoption programs, and this one was the one that could work for us at the time.
Yep.
And so we started pursuing adoption of one little girl at the time, and then later, how much, like,
just a couple years in. Yeah.
They had offered us the opportunity to bring home a set of sisters. So we went back to the Lord, and we had just recently, God had provided a second home to us, and we felt like in the second home there was so much more room, and we just felt like God was making room for one more, even though initially we had only started trying to adopt one little girl. And so that's, I don't know if you shared this part before, but yeah, basically we started pursuing changing our paperwork to reflect two little girls, and then by the time we did that, they got placed for adoption into a different family. So there
we were with approval from both governments to bring home two, but now there were no two available to us. So we sought the Lord and really felt that we were supposed to leave it at two. We were still open to one, but also just to be available for a sibling pair, just in case that was something God was doing. And that's where we sat for the last 2 years. We sat being available to adopt two little girls or one for the last 2 years.
Yep. And so I think that brings us to today. We've just been waiting and kind of like with a lot of anticipation, and almost sometimes it feels like, is this ever going to happen? And all of that, so you kind of go all over the place with your emotions and don't really know what to expect, but at the same time it's very exciting, and especially now that we're getting closer, like I feel like it's getting more real.
Yeah. And
right now we're just thinking through all the implications from where we're gonna have them go to school, and how we're gonna do their learning since they don't speak English. And it's really awesome though, because most kids who are adopted internationally, when they join their families, a lot of them don't actually understand each other. So we feel like we have an advantage in the fact that at least Mark and I speak Spanish fluently. The kids understand a little bit here and there, and so
sí, bueno, sí.
So that'll hopefully be to our advantage in that regard.
And they're coming together. Some sibling pairs get split up in some nations. Colombia's policy is to keep sibling pairs together or sibling groups together. They won't split them up unless they absolutely have to, or if it's best for the children to be split up. So in this circumstance, the fact that they get to come here together, their own flesh and blood, they know one another, and then they get to integrate into our family, and we get to welcome them into ours. I mean, that's a huge advantage and really powerful opportunity for us. So I wanted to just share with you here, and maybe I'll blow this up and post it separately, but we're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps away from bringing these girls home from Colombia. You can see down at the bottom the little green house with the red heart. That's our bring home date. We're looking at a bring home date of October or November of this year. And backing up from there, we have a few steps in the middle. One is applying for our paperwork through the U.S. for immigration for these two girls. We also have a deadline of June 7th for our final payment to our agency here in the United States, which we just hit today 52% of our stage 3 funding goal, which our stage 3 funding goal was just over $15,000. We are just over halfway there as of today, thanks to your generosity and the grace of God. So we're getting so close, and we're really, really excited So we have just under, what's that going to be, about 10 days to get the remaining $8,000-ish together, and we will be able to make our final payment, accepting the referral paperwork, and get these girls in process to come home. And the cool thing is, once we make our final payment to our agency and we sign the referral paperwork saying, yes, we're in 100%, then the little girls get to know us. They then become aware of us on the other side of this journey for them, that our 3 biological kids and us and our community that's helped us get this far, we're on the other side of the paperwork saying, yes, we want you. We want to bring you home.
Yeah, and
so we're so
that's
close.
when we start communicating with them.
Yes.
And all of that. So we're getting there. And yeah, just one last thing. If you're wondering, we do have beds for them. We haven't purchased any clothes or anything just because we don't know their sizes and all of that, and we'll find that out. But we're very, very excited.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out how we're gonna do school, and
we're gonna watch our kids learn Spanish really fast. But yeah, we just wanted to take an extended time tonight for the evening update for you to hear a little more of the story. It's been kind of a crazy journey, but the reality of it is we've just done one step at a time. And so if you're thinking about adoption, or you're thinking about doing something that requires some risk or some faith, I just encourage you to take it one step at a time. You don't need to worry about step 10 when you're on step 1. You just need to take the first step. So likewise, I want to invite you, if God's encouraging you to give, or to give a seed, sow a seed into the lives of Yesica and Ana María, to help us give them the gift of family, you can do so with the links provided in this video. Down on the bottom, we have Venmo, our GoFundMe, and of course a tax-deductible donation site called AdoptTogether as well. So we're getting close, and together with your help, we're going to give the gift of family to Yesica and Ana María really soon. Well, we love you guys. Have a wonderful night, and we'll see you again soon.